Hello. If you watch wildlife documentaries on television, you may think of nature in terms of big animals inhabiting exotic landscapes. However, there's a lot more going on than most of us realise, even on our own doorsteps. You've probably walked past patches of moss on walls and tree trunks thousands of times, for example, without ever noticing them. Get yourself a magnifying glass, however, and these prosaic little plants resolve into all sorts of shapes and types. So what if we go one step further and look not through a magnifying glass, but through a microscope? What more might we see if we magnify the world by 100 or more times? Emanuela Samartiani is on a mission to make the mysterious microscopic world come alive, and she's going to tell us about a book she wrote in 2018 called The Hidden World of Diatoms. Now, diatoms are microscopic algae, and as it's unusual to find someone who writes books about the microscopic world for children, I thought I'd like to find out a little bit more about Emanuela and how she came to write the book. So, Emanuela, can you tell us briefly about your background and what brought you to write this book?
Thank you, Martin. Hello, everybody. So my idea of what I hope will become a very long series of illustrated books for children was born about 10 years ago. At the time, I was living in the United States and I was working on my PhD. My PhD broadly was about biodiversity variety in space and time in a restored floodplain, especially concentrating on the soil. So when I moved there in the United States, I was preparing my third chapter, which was about microorganisms. And I started to read literature and learning about these incredible organisms, their beauty and their importance, etc. And at the same time, my daughter was about 1 year old, and she, like me, was born with a passion for books. And I really wanted to share with her my passion of these organisms. So I started to look for books for children about microorganisms in general and in particular protists. And I couldn't really find what I was looking for because there were not many, and the one that I found actually were very much concentrated on microorganisms causing disease. And that was not what I wanted. And as well, I thought it was almost a pity that many of those books were oversimplifying, in my view, the text and the illustrations, with goggly eyes and these kind of things. So at that time, I thought, you know what, one day I will write my own book. And then time passed. I moved to the United Kingdom. I finished my PhD, I had my son, and then in 2018 at New Year's Eve, I made a year resolution and I thought, this year I will write my book. And then I actually hired a life coach, Rebecca Kirk. She was really great and she helped me to set up a plan, to set up goals, to break it down, etc. And one thing after another, eventually I wrote the book. And by February, I think it took about a year before it was actually out.
So you've got illustrations on every page of your book. So did you paint those yourself?
No, actually, well, no, the artist is Helena Kreissel. And I actually have here some of the original pictures I wanted to show you. Because some people might not realize how they look like in real life before they become actually part of the page. Can you see it?
I can, yes.
And while I was writing the text, actually, I had exactly clear in mind what kind of illustration I wanted. So I actually made drawings, but I'm not really talented. Yeah. And then I knew about Helena because she's my cousin, and she's not at all an illustrator per se, but she's just really talented in painting. So I asked her if she was up to do this project with me, and she was very excited about it. So we just thought we give it a try. So I sent her a few ideas of my illustration, and it came back. I was just like, wow, it's exactly what I was looking for. And from there on.
Okay, after that introduction, it'd be nice if we could see these pictures and to hear you reading from your book. So what we're going to do now is play a short video that Emanuela has put together. So if you just wait one moment while I share my screen, and then we can play the video.
Hi, I'm Emanuela, and this is an overview of what my book is about. The Hidden World of Diatoms is a book to inspire children to discover the beauty of our planet, the diversity of ecosystems, and of living things. A large number of species we know are microorganisms, creatures so small that they can only be seen through a microscope. Some of those microorganisms belong to the group of diatoms. Much like plants, diatoms produce oxygen through the process of photosynthesis, which makes them invaluable to all breathing things, including humans. Eaten by krill, diatoms are at the base of the ocean food web. This means that without them, most of the animals in the sea could starve. Diatoms produce a protective shell called frustula. Frustula deposits are extracted by industries to use them in the production of many common domestic products, for example, cat litter or toothpaste. This is it for now. To learn more about the amazing diatoms, please visit thehiddenworld.co.uk to get your copy of the book. Thank you.
Well, thanks, Emanuela. That was really interesting. So just to clarify, before you wrote this book, you had done research on microscopic organisms and their biodiversity, but you didn't know much about diatoms specifically. So what sparked your interest in diatoms?
No, you're right. I was studying in general microorganisms, and actually I was studying environmental DNA, so I didn't even see the actual microorganism. But I knew obviously about them, and I thought among the so many to choose from, I thought that algae would more easily attract attention because of their beauty. They are, after all, called the jewels of the sea for something. So I thought that would be a good start for a series to attract, not only by them being so special, but also actually attractiveness of
Yes.
the organism itself.
So do you have a microscope at home? And have you managed to make your own children interested in the microscopic world?
I do have a microscope, and well, my little one, he's only 6, so he's interested, but it doesn't really, guess it. But we actually read The Hidden World of Diatoms this morning, and he enjoyed it. And my oldest one, Mylene, yes, she did. Especially once she saw in school, they talked about cells and microorganisms. So they realized, wow, I can do it at home as well. So that's cool.
Well, you've done better than me. I've got 3 children, all of them grown up, and none of them interested in science. I don't know what I did wrong. But moving on, The Hidden World of Diatoms isn't the only book you've written, is it? Because I noticed that on your website, there's also a book called The Hidden World of Testate amoebae. So yes. First of all, you better explain to everybody what testate amoebae actually are.
Well, testate amoeba are another kind of protists, and they are very interested as well for their, what we call tests, is their shell, and the fact that it doesn't decay because it's mostly not organic, and the fact that they live in peatlands, which means that they have been deposited in the peat. And thanks to the depth of the peat where we find those shells, we can determine when the species live there.
Right.
And we can go back in paleontology, we can go back thousands of years and determine the climate of the time and other environmental conditions in which those organisms lived. So among other splendid things about this organism.
What inspired you to write about them? Why did you move from algae to testate amoebae?
2 reasons. I wanted to do something quite different, so stay away from the ocean, stay away from photosynthesis, but also testate amoeba have always been close to me because during my master and my PhD, I worked in a lab that was mainly focused on tested amoeba. So my PhD supervisor, who actually collaborated with the writing of this book, it's an expert on tested amoeba. So I had to somehow at some point do this.
Okay, so 2 final questions before we finish. The first, what's your next project? Have you got anything in mind that you're going to write about?
Well, yes, absolutely. I have actually 2 projects in mind. At the moment, I am writing a project to find funds to translate these 2 books in my home languages, which are Italian, German, and French, because I'm Swiss. So I would like to translate these 2 books in those 3 languages. And once I've done that, I will go with the 3rd book. It's not 100% sure though, because there are just so many and so beautiful. I will have to look more about what there is around, because that's also the thing. There is not always so much around outside of very pointy scientific papers. So the information to find, like talking about diatoms, they are quite well known and also appreciated by the public. So there is a lot of information out there, whereas other organisms are so I can't find the word. It's a niche.
Yes.
So it's more difficult to find information that relate them to the public.
That's right. Yes. Yeah. Okay. And the final question then is, how can we buy your book?
By my website. At the moment, only by my website, which is thehiddenworld.co.uk. That will come. Yeah, I guess.
Well, that's right. I'll put the contact details on the screen now in that case. And yes, as I'm doing that, we'll just say thank you to Emanuela for introducing us to her book. And I hope that this little video helps you sell a few more copies.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.